Well, I think the number one thing is we've been as safe as humanly possible. Masking up, regular testing, pods, using pods even early on in practice, working out in smaller groups and things like that. So I think we've tried to, as much as anything, we've tried to reassure the team through our process that we're doing everything we can to avoid COVID and keep everybody safe. In some ways, we're in better shape because we've had more time to train. But then at the same time, there's what I would describe as a bump that you normally get after that first race. I think you need it to a certain extent. You need that first race to elevate your training, to remind yourself that racing is painful. So that first race often gives a little bit of a bump because your pain tolerance goes up, your understanding of what's required goes up. So I'm looking forward to that as much as anything to start progressing ourselves towards the championship, which as of Friday will only be a month away, which is kind of crazy in and of itself. The mental side to me is more of an individual thing in cross country than it is a collective. I think some people need to be a little more up, some people need to be a little less up, and you've got to kind of take each individual for with what their needs are. As much as anything, I think that there's a little bit of anxiety about traveling and stuff like that, so we've tried to inform everybody about what our protocols are. I think there's a little bit of anxiety about competing in the time of COVID, so we've talked a lot about, okay, this is what we're going to be doing differently, wearing masks all the time other than when we're racing. The boxes are going to be separated by 9 feet. Team areas are all going to be separate. So trying to decrease their anxiety as much as possible about COVID, which is something that it's natural to be concerned about, and try and take that out of the equation in terms of mental preparation. To me, I think probably the biggest sign in terms of mental preparation that I saw from the team collectively was when our meet got canceled at Georgia because of Hurricane Sally. How genuinely disappointed everyone was that they didn't get the chance to compete. And I think that was actually very important. I have actually never seen the course at Florida State, but it is a well-known course. They've run the NCAA regionals, and I believe they've run the ACC there. And actually, one of the reasons I'm excited about going to the meet is that it's going to be the NCAA site next year. So the national preview and everything else will be there. So we're kind of getting a little bit of a first look of that for a meet that will be highly likely to be on our schedule next year. I think climate is obviously also an issue when you're going south, although it doesn't look like it'll be too warm. Being in the Panhandle, the climate's not drastically different than what we've been facing lately. Frankly, I'm just happy that we're avoiding another hurricane at this point in time in that part of the world. But I think the course, like I said, it's a well-known course even though we haven't been on it. I actually hesitate to mention, I think, newcomers right now because I'm not a big fan of grading people on practice. I think what we're going to see is who our racers are out of this meet, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. I have some ideas in the back of my mind who that's going to be, and we've definitely had a couple of freshmen in particular that look good in practice. But until they lay it down on the race course, I think that practice is practice and race is races.